everybody. It's Thursday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And we're laughing because as that music comes on, and yeah, we hear it every time, and that's just what we do, is that awkward head bob. And so I wonder if that's what all you guys do at home too. Cracks me up. Honestly, I think a lot of people, when we're live, they don't even catch that very beginning of the show. So maybe you don't even know what we're talking about. But the cool thing about that is we keep all of these shows, and you are welcome to replay them as often as you want. So, you can look for us on Facebook because obviously these shows, they come out there and they kept there, but also come out live on YouTube and they're stored there as well. So if you are ever like going on a road trip, summer is coming up, whatever you are up to, you can come on YouTube and even listen to these like podcasts.
Yep, and I have them all put together in a playlist, so you can just stick it on there and it'll just go through every one of them. There's getting to be a lot on there now.
And actually, it's kind of a funny thing. We do sometimes bring up YouTube because we have actually tons of followers on Facebook now, and that is a whole ton of fun. But what do we have, like 50 followers on YouTube? Yeah. So I don't know, like we have over 300 videos, from the last few years of just all the people that we talked to and stuff. So whatever you are looking for, it is on there.
Yep, and we post our fishing report on there Monday morning, usually around 4. Sometimes I don't get to it till Monday morning, so it might post a little later. But normally I try to get it around 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So if you are really itching for the week's fishing report, you can see it on YouTube first, and then we'll probably post it out, I don't know, sometime on Monday morning on Facebook later.
Hey, Jordan. But talking about our weekly fishing report, we actually got out fishing this past week. I don't want to say actually, we've done a lot of cool stuff lately, but that transition from winter into this open water, it does always kind of feel crazy, just a big jump. So,
adventure.
And I guess that's a really great point because we'll start there. So one of the things that we make a big point to do in previous years is, go to our tiny little local lake or pond or whatever, and you dunk the boat in, and then you go for like a little evening stroll or something just to test everything out, make sure that everything's working and it's all good to go, and you flip the switches and whatnot. And, if you are the kind of person, you have a family, you have a dog, you have whatever, bring them out there because they'll love that. But we ran out of time this year because it's amazing how fast that transition from snow to open water went.
And when Emily says ran out of time, we just were impatient, so we just sent it, threw the boat in the water, just threw it in there.
So we found out that our bilge pump doesn't work, and
didn't work. I wiggled the wires, and then it did start working.
Yes, okay. So we have a few kinks to work out, but our boat isn't brand new anymore, and it is still in great condition. We love it and all those things, but this is the time of the year to make sure that all of that is in order, because you want to make sure you have a successful rest of the year.
Yeah, and why a bilge pump is important is because sometimes someone forgets to put the plug in.
So he's not pointing past himself. No. He's actually throwing himself under the bus. Yeah, and that's okay. I thought I looked too.
So that's how we found out the bilge pump didn't work. But
we still have a boat. Everything is fine. If you saw us at that launch that day, shout out to you, because there was some patient people, and we are glad that there was 3 other launches for people to use.
Yeah, that's okay. It happens to the best of us. It's not the first time it's happened to us. It won't be the last time. But one thing we did kind of think through some stuff, and we added a carabiner to our keychain, and so every time you grab the boat keys, you have to grab the boat plug.
It's never been a problem before, but that's the thing, is it only has to be a problem once.
Yeah, there's a lot of and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, especially the first time of the year. You aren't in the routine. You just got done going through all of your spring stuff, and you're trying to make sure all that's in there, and that.
Ray, I appreciate you for admitting that, because sometimes when things like this happen, you feel like you're the only one.
Well, and better to have it happen at the landing than in the middle of the water. So,
and we did catch walleyes, and we did throw them all back. Day. So yeah, that was it. All just came full circle, and it all worked out. So looking forward to the next trip, which hopefully will be equally or more successful.
Yeah.
So. Looking forward to that. With that, we are looking forward to talking fishing and more tips and tricks and tactics or whatever, all kinds of stuff coming up. So somebody that we met recently. So let's welcome to the show, Chad Wakeman. Thanks for being here.
Hey, bud.
Hey guys.
So I guess, starting out with our first question, for anybody who does not know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Chad Wakeman, and been fishing since 2. Started out in Peoria, Illinois, at a little strip pits. Mom and dad, they loved fishing, camping, and whatnot. So naturally, I picked it up. Went out fishing with my dad and the family in the boat, and caught my first fish. Dad always said it was a nice bluegill, huge, like you couldn't get your hand around it. And he asked if I wanted to keep it, and I said, nope, throw it back. It's not a bass. So he said after that, bass fisherman was born. So 43 years old, and I moved from, grew up in Peoria, like I said, moved to Dupo, Illinois in 82, I believe, because my brother's 81. So 82, was living there since I turned 21 and got married to my wife, Trisha. And we've been married since 2006. And so we just actually March celebrated 18 years. So, yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah. And so she supports me in my fishing, and I support her in her purse collecting and her shoe collecting. Yeah. So trade-off, it's their trade-off, So
as long as you have a big closet and a big garage, then you'll be good to go.
Yeah, but the thing is her purse collection far outweighs my my fishing collection. I don't understand how that works. So maybe one of these days, the next purse that she gets might be a trade-off for a boat. I don't know.
Whoa, there you go.
So we'll
like
see how it goes.
Like a purse savings account.
That's yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And so been living I live in Arnold, Missouri. Been here for 17 years. Actually, we moved here a year after we had gotten married, and joined a little club down here, Christian club, called Heaven's Anglers. And then after that, got out. Wasn't feeling the fishing thing anymore. I don't know what it was. I guess identity crisis, maybe, I don't know. But and I sold my bass boat, my nitro bass boat, and my truck, and got a Camaro, and lived my glory days in a Camaro. But then, one of those, I think I'm going to go fishing over at my brother-in-law's lake, and just got bit by the bass bug again, and it just grew like wildfire. And so here I am, me and a buddy of mine that you guys had met at the expo at the Lou's tent. Me and him started a bass fishing club called Mo Bass, and we're going strong. We're going into our 8th season, and it's a roller coaster. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. Let's put it that way. You get to fish. I get to fish with my brother, and it's just an awesome road. It really is.
It is an awesome road because, one of the things that we got to do, we met you at that really fun World Fishing Fair that was down in Missouri. So,
yeah.
I mean, that in itself is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, who else gets to hang out with the Bassmaster Classic winner of 2022, and then then get to rub elbows with pros and talk fishing to people? I mean, how much awesome is that? It was just a good experience, an awesome experience. I've been pro staffing for about 7 years now, and I think it kind of came full circle. I mean, it was pretty cool. It was definitely an experience. Will I be around for another 50 years for another one? probably not. This will probably be the last one and only one I'm going to be able to get to do.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's actually really funny because we always talk about like, oh, that show, like it'll be next year again because we did get to meet so many cool people. It was such a fun time. Like the networking was awesome.
Yeah.
But you're making a great point. Like it was kind of like a I don't want to say lifetime because that's not true, but like once in a long while event.
Yeah. And I was talking with a bunch of my guys that was there with pro staff for the company that sponsors me, and they said they were thinking that they might very well have another one next year, and we might be down there, and it just depends on what Johnny Morris wants. But whatever Johnny Morris wants, Johnny Morris gets, and I mean he's the what'd you say, the granddaddy of bass fishing, So yeah, I think we might be down there again next year.
Well, and I have to ask, is there anything that you picked up for yourself for fishing while you were at the show?
No. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. I wasn't saying no because my wife told me not to.
She's not listening anyways.
Yeah. She's not here right now, so I can be all right for now. Yeah, I did. I picked up a couple of hats, a couple of T-shirts. I'm okay on fishing tackle, to be honest with you. But it's mostly just, I guess you would call it laundry, clothing, I picked up. But mostly that. I think the two big things that I picked up was the two hats that I had signed for my two kids that I helped mentor a little bit, that fish in the Seckman School District down here. I had gotten a hat for them and had them signed by all the pros, and so I presented it to them, and they were pretty stoked about that. I think that was the best thing. Not something I would buy for myself, but mostly taking care of those two guys were my number one priority.
That is actually really awesome.
Yeah.
So then where you're at, are you still like early spring fishing, or what is your weather and fishing looking like?
Well, we just got done with a tournament here in, actually last Saturday, as a matter of fact, and for our Mo Bass Club. And me and my partner, Pat, we ended up taking first place. Water was starting to come up to about 50. I think the warmest we found it was 52. We had gotten a lot of rain all last week leading up to Saturday. And so the water is really, really muddy, almost like chocolate milk. But we knew where they were at. Thank the Lord for some really good electronics. My buddy's running hummingbirds off of his nitro. And we were actually able to see the fish below the crappie. We saw that the crappie and the bluegill were suspended. And we see the other fish down the bottom, which we had a kind of a feeling that those were our bass. And so we set the tone, or I set the tone for us. We ended up going to the dam, and I ended up hooking up with a 4-8 and put him in the live well. And then I stumbled on the pattern a little bit. I had a hunch with the water clarity. I was thinking, just the chartreuses, the whites and stuff weren't working. The water temperature is getting ready to come up where they're starting to stage. I ended up going to black and getting a little bit more bites on a black jig with a black Super Chunk Junior, and we dialed them in. We went back to our flat where it was 18 feet of water, and we were on them. My buddy put another 2, a 5-8, and another 4-pounder in the live well. And so for 3 fish, which was still a tough day of fishing with the wind and everything, we ended up going 12 pounds, 8 ounces for 3 fish, and ended up winning the tournament and getting dinner paid for. So, it's seesaw temperatures. Like we'll have 1 or 2 days out of the week where it's 70 degrees. Like for instance, Monday was cold, but then Tuesday, Wednesday, it was 70. And then we had the rain yesterday. It dropped the temperature in the middle of the day. And then today it was 65. Tomorrow's 50. So it's still a lot of seesaw temperatures. Fish are still in transition. We're seeing them more like right on the main lake points, trying to get ready to go in. If we have maybe some nice weather, then maybe we might start to see them go back. We got a tournament in May on Table Rock, which is not far from Springfield, and we got what they call the Cops for Kids tournament, and we're thinking we might end up seeing them up on beds, and we might be able to do some sight fishing down there. It's pretty clear. You can see pretty much 30 feet down, but me and Pat's got some pretty good spots picked out where we hammered them at last year, and they've helped us out quite a bit every time that we've gone down. We just got to dial in the bait.
That's awesome. So there was a lot of good stuff in what you were talking about. So I am going to kind of rewind actually pretty far back, if that's okay.
Sure.
But one of the first things that you pointed out, and I'm starting there because it's, I think, how a lot of people start their trip out this time of the year. So, you get in the boat and you go out in the water and you're like, okay, let's go find them. And you kind of tool around. And, I think people do kind of come upon those clouds of fish, especially because, it's early season with 50 degrees still. And so one of the things you said is on the graph, you might see, fish suspending or fish at different levels. And so actually, I did not plan to wear this sweatshirt today for this reason, but I would say, when we met, we were at the Aquaview booth, and that's one of the perfect times a year to use an Aquaview because like you're saying, you were able to, as an angler, use your knowledge and use that base to realize that could be bass. But for so many people out there that are still learning their graphs or fishing or the environments or the lakes that they're at, that is a time that you can put that camera right down and be able to help identify, what those fish are. So in this case, those panfish, crappies or bluegills, they are suspending. In that case, the bass, they were closer to the bottom. But what's interesting is with this time of the season, those fish, they know that water is warming up. And so fish are all kind of pushing towards that same direction. So interesting that a lot of times you do come across kind of those multi-species situations.
In this case, we would have loved to have had an Aquaview or like a down scope or live scope, I guess. But with the water being as murky and as dark as what it was, I'm almost positive we wouldn't have been able to see them. We just ran off of instincts and on the graphs, the bass have a little higher arc on the graphs than what the bluegill and the crappie are. They're more of a flat. And so we kind of process of elimination. I think those are our bass sitting down there. And so sure enough, that's exactly where they're at. They're staged off of different shelves on those lakes. And we ended up hooking up with them and putting them in the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. You bring up a good point with even the muddy water, like you were fishing, and the Aquaview doesn't do very well at finding fish at that point. But as a verification tool, if you have it, it's worth bringing in your boat every time. Because if you have it and you can throw it down there, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't. But you're already on top of the fish. All you have to do is put it down there. And even if it's only 6 inches that you can see, if you're getting fish on your graph, we were lucky enough to have a really cool comparison tank at the Bass Pro Fair, where it was showing actually the Panoptics next to a camera and how many fish showed up on the Panoptics even, or the live scope versus the camera. And there was a lot of fish in the background that you couldn't catch with the electronics that you could with the camera. So even if you were only like 6 inches away from a fish, that's all you would need. All you needed to see is that green stripe, and you're like, yep, those are bass.
Well, but the other thing that we talked about, though, and I, especially in the cloudy water, for me, it's not even about the fish at all. It's not if you can see the fish or not. It's about identifying that environment. So the other thing that you were talking about in there is, you switch to that darker bait. And so one of the things that I recognize when I do put that camera down is, you can see, can I see the fish? I'm going to use those colors. Or otherwise, it's just everything is a shadow down there. And that's part of why that dark bait works there, because it is that, I don't know, that dark shows up in that shadow, or I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how that works. I'm not getting down that. But I mean, those are the other clues that you can use.
Sure.
So I love that you said coming upon that dark bait.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with you're right, with the shadow just right of a darker bait, they can kind of focus in, like say there's something coming through the water that a chartreuse or a white. And I know everybody, you'll even talk to pros, and they say, hey, when you have dark water, you want to throw your whites, you want to throw your chartreuses, you want to throw those baits, and you want to throw baits with noise. I find that works for me is the darker baits, like your green pumpkins, your black and blues, your black and purples, your blacks. Browns kind of disappear a little bit in with the murky water, so I don't really get to use them too much. Normally, my go-to bait is a PBJ with a black Super Chunk Junior, and yeah, it disappeared within the first foot of water, and so yeah. And in some cases, when you have murky water, maybe it's only murky maybe the first couple of feet, and then below that it clears up. We just don't know that. We don't know what we have below that mud line. Maybe that mud line, like I said, is only 2 feet, and it's not the whole entire lake. And down below that, they can see perfect. I don't believe that this was the case, because we threw quite a bit of different colored baits until we zeroed in on the black, and it just didn't seem to be getting the hits.
So then, as far as somebody who is in tournaments, you do then come across the range of water. So you had thrown out some bait colors, black and maybe some purples or blues, or the PB&J. Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that one. Are there other favorites? Like, tell us about your tackle box as a tournament angler. How do you be prepared for everything, kind of?
Well, I try to take as much as I can in my buddy's boat. Luckily, he's got just a single console, so I've got some room to move as far as a non-boater is concerned. I actually went from 2 tackle boxes into one big one, and it looks literally like a big boat bag is what it is. But I know that I have everything. I know that I'm not leaving anything at home that might work. Normally, I would be like, well, it's a little warm out. I don't think I need my crankbaits. I'll probably top those off with my jigs. My top water. Or, they haven't really been biting on swim baits lately. I'm going to put those away and I'll swap some stuff out. I don't have that case anymore. Everything's all right there. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And so I have everything. My scents. I have my dyes. I've got my tools. I've got everything that I need for every situation and every tournament that I go to, or any type of fun fishing. I've got it there. Sometimes when me and my buddy go down to my brother-in-law's lake, there's something we want to play around with, and we have the liberty to do that. I've got all that tackle with me. I might only limit myself to maybe a couple of rods when I go there, but when it's game day, all my rods are in the boat, all my tackle's in with the boat and with him. And it's game on. But at the same time, don't get me wrong. We like to put our game faces on and really buckle down and fish. But at the same time, we like to have fun and cut up and have a good time, me and Pat. So, but yeah, as far as my baits, everything's with me. I don't ever try to keep anything at home now. Just in case I come across a situation where I'm going to need something, I've got it, and I'm not wasting time, or I'm not mooching off my guy in the front of the boat saying, "Hey, you got another one of those hooks? You got another one of those baits? I see you're catching them off on them. I forgot mine." I don't want to be that guy. I want to make sure my bases are covered at all times. So I want to make sure that I've got everything I need, and it happens. I've got it. Luckily. Things are pretty cool. Things are pretty available when it comes to things that you need. If not, look on the internet. I'm sure you'll find anything and everything you need to have for the boat when it comes to tackle.
I think it's funny that you have downsized into one kind of big bag, because that's once Josh started accumulating more and more plastics, that's what he ultimately did. But the lack of organization just kills me. So I find I have to stick with the boxes and all of that.
Hang on, let me turn my light on real quick.
Yeah.
There's better. Yeah, and your organization, Josh, you were saying something about that. I'm going through my stuff all the time and organizing it. And my wife, you organize that again? Because literally when I bring this box out, this tackle bag out, I'm knocking things off the wall because it's just so big. But I want it. That's what I got to have. I mean, I got to have it in the boat. But yeah, and you're right, Josh. Every organization is everything, because then you know where everything's at. And you're not thumbing through every tackle pack looking for that one specific thing. You know exactly where it's at. So yeah, all my stuff's labeled, and my wife, again, she laughs. And when I get the black magic marker out and I'm writing it all down on the tackle pack of what it is, and so yeah, and sometimes I don't get it all done in one day or one night, and it's got to sit there for a couple of days until I get back at it. And so it's all about being organized and knowing what you have and knowing where things are at. So then that way you go right to it. It's not something that you're, now where did I put those at? I know exactly where it's at, because all that stuff, when we do get into big tournaments and we do fish big tournaments, not to take anything away from our club tournaments, but all that time that you know where things are at is less time that you have to find it. You know where it's at. You can rig it. You can get your bait back out in the water and keep dunking it. So yeah, Josh, if you do the organization, I commend you, because it's all about the organizations. And no, so okay, well, Emily, I'm sorry, Josh, maybe not so much you, but okay, Emily.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because it does pertain to me. Like, so one thing that I do try and keep together is for us, like, we primarily fish panfish, is my jig sizes.
Yeah.
So those are something that I don't switch a whole lot. From a trip to trip basis,
yeah,
I might switch, but during the day I don't switch a whole lot. Usually we'll find a pattern. But my plastics, I just have a Mary Poppins bag. So I just have like a duffel bag that's full of like 2x2 inch bags of plastics, and then I just reach my hand in there and then I pull one out and I'm like, well, I'll try that one. And then Emily's looking at me like, you're crazy. And then I'm like, oh, this color's working. How about that color? And then she's like, I don't know what you're doing back there. And then I have packs all over the boat, and there's like, I have a pile of plastics in front of me, and
it's a disaster.
But it works.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And sometimes you got to do what works for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right, though, because anytime I leave anything at home, it's like the one thing that I need, and it's like, doesn't matter how random it is.
Yeah. What's the saying? Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never want to catch myself in that situation.
Yeah. So then, you're making an interesting point about being kind of, can I call you like a traveling tournament angler or something? Because you're like traveling into somebody else's boat.
Yeah.
A lot of times you think like you can pack all of your own stuff into your own boat, but I think people forget about those partner situations. So then when you are joining somebody else and you have your big bag that you're bringing on and stuff, you need other things with you. So how many rods are you bringing with you?
Well, it's funny. I just actually sold all my rods, and I'm getting ready to get new rods, and they're actually will be here next week, as a matter of fact. So right now, I will have spin cast top water, or I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll have 8 rods total. I got another one coming from St. Croix. I'm pro staff for St. Croix as well, so I got another one coming. I'll have a total of 6 rods coming from St. Croix that I'll rig up, and I'll be here before the May tournament, which is that first, the first and second of the month of May, and I'll have everything here. So yeah, I've got 5, 6, 7 right now, 5 reels without rods, 2 rods and reels set up, ready to go, and 1 more. So yeah, I'll have a total of 8 rods total. Yeah, and I take them all. And I'll even call my buddy and say, okay, I've got 8 rods. You're all right? And he goes, you got plenty of room over there. All right. Just want to make sure. And now we fish so much. Me and Pat, we fish so much that he expects me to bring my stuff. And if I don't bring this stuff, he's like, well, why didn't you bring it? Well, because of room in the boat. You know better than that. And so he just expects it. Now, if I was fishing on somebody else's boat that I've never fished with, or I've only fished with maybe a couple of times, I'm usually trying to call them and say, okay, this is what I've got. I want to make sure I'm prepared for every situation that I need as far as fishing is concerned. You have a problem with that. And they'll say either no, or, hey, you might want to dial it back to maybe 5 rods instead of 8. Yeah. And then that's when I got to make decisions. But I always want to make sure I bring all my tackle, because you never know when you're in that situation. My rods that I carry, I I have 1 or 2 specific rods. One's a topwater. One is a crankbait. But then I also have another one for shake it. Everything else, I try to be able to make a combo where I can throw soft plastic or creature, or I can throw this or that on one rod in case I come to that situation where I have to dial back my rods. I can at least take the 2 rods that I know I can use on multiple situations, and then I'll have to make the decision. Okay, what time of year am I looking at? What's my weather going to be? Am I looking at wind? Do I need to bring sprinter baits and crankbaits, or is it warm enough to where I won't need that, and I need my topwater, my frogs, my wake baits, my stuff like that? Then I'll know what rods I need in addition. But yeah, normally I'm fishing with Pat, and he's like, bring them, just put them in the boat. Okay, we'll do. So
that's really funny. I'm imagining maybe like a for fun tournament one day where it's like the 1 rod only tournament, and all the anglers just have to like retie and stuff. That would be really funny.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. I thought we all start off with the Barbie rod, with the first fish catch off the Barbie rod. We upgrade to the Zebco 33, and then the next fish caught off the Zebco 33. Then we upgrade to the spin cast, and then after the spin cast, then we go up to the bait caster or whatnot. I think that would be an interesting tournament, especially when we're all standing around waiting to get dunked into the water, and then we're handing out the Barbie poles or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles poles, and they're like, "What's this?" I think that would be a fun tournament. I think
that would be a fun tournament.
That would be, yeah.
Well, it reminds me, we're all the way up here in the north. We go ice fishing and all of that. And so there's always that point in the summer where people are like so sick of the heat, and they start bringing their ice rods on the boat. Mm-hmm. That's so funny. We can mix in an ice rod there. Oh my gosh. So, as somebody who is blessed to have so much rod, so much tackle, so many rods, all of the things, what do you tell people who are just getting started? What do they need in their arsenal to be successful?
Try to find a rod that you can do multiple things with. So say, for instance, if I'm going to throw, say, a crankbait rod, but I also have jerk baits. I also have, bladed jigs. I also have running anything that's I can run submerged, as far as like a moving bait. Maybe get a rod that accommodates all of them. Maybe like a medium, moderate rod, because that way you can use that rod for all those. And then you might want to have a rod for jigs, soft plastics. There's 2 rods right then and there that will run you everything, every aspect. And then at the same time, that medium heavy, you could run a topwater, like say for instance what is it, like a Zerspook or a chug bait, something like that. You can use. I've used them before. When I first started out, I've used them, and then as I got more advanced in my fishing career, Then I started getting the rods for the different things specific. But I would always tell them, find a rod that you can do multiple setups with, and then build off of that. Because not a lot of people, especially kids, don't, high school kids, don't have the money to go out and buy, a lot of rods and a lot of reels. So start off buying the rods that are multi-technique, and go from there. 1 or 2 rods, maybe 3 at the most, and then vary it up with a different type of reels, from a low speed reel to a high speed, or to a mid speed reel to a high speed reel. And then your bases are covered. So then that way you don't have to worry about taking so much. You've got enough to cover whatever it is, whatever technique and whatever weather condition, whatever lake condition you have, you've got that available.
I think that's actually a really great point for a few reasons. So first of all, I think a lot of times people new to the sport look at those who have been in the sport forever and is like, how do I get all the gear at once? And it's like almost nobody had that happen to them. Like almost nobody is able to get all of it at once. And even if you can afford it, there's shipping issues these days.
Do you know where the first rod, or the set of rods that I used started out with? And people are going to look at me and go, "Really? You started out with those, and they're so cheap?" The best rod for the market, and by far, I think that one of the best ones is the Berkeley Lightning rods. Yes. $49.99 or $39.99. You can't beat the weight. I can throw those all day. When I first broke out into the bass fishing scene, that's exactly what I used. You can't beat the line or the weight. You can't beat the rod itself. It's super sensitive. Both rods are rods that they have. Their lines are great rods. Loved them, and in fact I talked to a couple of people that. Would you use when you first started out? Berkeley Lightning rods. What? Yeah, Berkeley Lightning rods. And they look at me going, "You 49? You can't beat that. You can't." And when people go in there and they go to Bass Pro and they look at it and say, "I want a Berkeley Lightning rod," or the people there are going, "Really? You want one of those? There's so many other different possibilities, and you want one of those?" And you can't beat the price. And for the sensitivity, the rod type, everything, they're great rods.
Well, and then as everybody does go and build up, all their stuff, their arsenal or whatever, one of the other points that you were making is, finding rods with, different actions or different weights, finding reels with different retrieve rates, whatever those different things are. Because one of the things about that is with rods and reels, it's very hard to explain and watch YouTube videos, because you can watch as much as you want, but applying it to what you have in your hands, you need to be using that material or using that equipment to be able to understand what you do and don't like, and how to apply that to be successful later. So, I love what you're saying about kind of, investing in even the range of products there to see, what you like as an angler.
And when I played with them all. I did the Berkeley Lightning rods. I had Kistler. I threw a couple Kistler rods at one time. I've had St. Croix before I got signed with St. Croix. I've had them before. Never had a Loomis. I've had Bass Pro Shop rods. I've had Cabela rods. I've had Wright McGill, which is the Skeet Reese rods. I've had all of them and used them all. I've had ugly sticks, for Pete's sakes. The old gator back rods that were green that you could take and bend around and it wouldn't break. I had those at one time. And I think just starting out, those Berkeley Lightning rods were pretty good. You can find them anywhere from Bass Pro to Walmart, anywhere. They're good. They're good rods. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, as we look forward into spring and summer, can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like for you? What do you have coming up?
Well, May, we have the Cops for Kids down in not Springfield, but in
Dude, you have a ghost in your house because your door just opened?
No, it's not a ghost. I have a 3-year-old boxer. Her name's Ellie. And,
Ellie.
So, yeah. And so she has a little mind of her own. But yeah. But I've got Cops for Kids in May with Pat. After that, then we've got Kincaid for our bass fishing club. That was the 14th of May. It's usually the second week of every month. June, we've got Lake Springfield in Illinois. In July, we have what is it? J. Edgar Panther Lake, Jim Edgar Panther Lake, Prairie Lake is what they call it, right outside Springfield as well. And then once we fish those two, that last tournament in July, then we all get to pick for what August is going to be. So whoever fishes those tournaments gets to pick the next the next lake. Well, the cool thing is we were put in for a lottery for June and July, and we got them. So July would be the Panther Lake, and then after that, once you attend our dinner, you get to throw out different possibilities for the lakes in August. And I usually will try to look for new water. I'm the tournament logistics guy for our club, so I'm always going out on a Saturday and trying to find new water, and then trying to not only finding new water, but okay, what town is it near? What restaurant can we go to that's going to house 7 or 8 rigs, and making sure that everything goes in order. The directions, it's challenging, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. I know the last couple of years we had what we call a MLF type style lake, where I got to go out and actually look at a lake that nobody else knows about, and I was able and gather them all up and let them know, okay, the only ones that know how to get to this lake is me. So whoever's I'm riding with, I have to guide them on the lake that they need to go to, and everybody else follows. When we have 5 or 6 boats behind us, trucks with boats behind us, it's a pretty cool sight to watch everybody following us and then not know where they're going. And it's funny too, because you'll get phone calls and say, "Oh, are we going this lake? Are we going this lake? Are we going this lake?" And I'm like, "Nope, that's not the lake. Nope. Good night. Better luck next time." And when they get there, they'll look at you and go, "Oh, this is the lake. I fished this before," but it's always been a long time ago. So we haven't had that. We haven't had it this year yet, and so I don't know what if that's in store for us or not. But we'll go all the way up till September. September is our classic, and then that's a day-and-a-half tournament down at Table Rock. We usually stay at a place called Lazy Lee's. Awesome person. Joy really works with us. She helps us out, gets us the best deals we can get. And then we fish. We go in there on a Friday, fish on Saturday. We get up at 6:30 and fish till 3:30, 2:30, 3:30 on Saturday. The next day, we'll end up having a little church service. Pat will actually give us a little bit of a Bible study for us for like 15 minutes. Then we get done and we load up in the boats. We fish from 6:30 to 12:30, and like I said, a day and a half of tournament, and then go eat, and then it's a 4-hour trip from Table Rock back to St. Louis. And but it's so much fun. I totally dig the club, and it's just so much fun. I know next year we're talking about doing. It used to be the Oakley Big Bass Bash down at Table Rock. But I think they call it the KVD Big Bass Bash, I think. And that's usually in May as well. It's in April, but it always falls on our tournament, our club tournament. So we're not able to fish it.
Oh.
So we're hoping that they change it maybe next year or on us. We used to do the Big Bass Bash at Lake of the Ozarks. But that was always put on by Anglers in Action. But when we come off those water, our back is killing us from that lake. And it's just not a fun lake for us to fish. We like to call Table Rock our home lake. It's fun, not a lot of boat traffic. And you don't come off of there feeling like you just went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. So, Yeah, that's what my tournament or my whole year looks like. And then we'll go play, maybe on the weekend or on the weekdays. I'll usually call Pat. He only works maybe 20, 30 minutes away from me. And I'll text him, hey, you want to go throw a line or what a line tonight? And he'll, oh yeah, I'm game for that. And he'll meet me down there at my brother-in-law's lake, and we'll go play. And we'll play for a couple hours. We'll usually try to get it whenever the top water bite is starting to come on. And then, yeah, it's just so much fun. I mean, it's, my wife looks at me and goes, go, have fun. All right, we'll do.
That's awesome. And then I do have to ask, because you have a bunch of fun tournament stuff and all those things that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you said that your first upcoming event is, did you say like Cops for Kids? Is that a public event that if people are interested, could they come to that?
Yeah, it is. It's a charity tournament. Cops could donate. I believe half the proceeds goes to a charity, and what it does is the tournament has. It's like I said. It's the 2nd of May, so we usually will get down there in the 1st, and then go fish on that Tuesday. But it is. Let's see. Last year it was 7 waves, and each wave had 40 boats. So you're talking about 280 boats, and times that by two anglers, and yeah, you're talking about a lot of bass boats on there. But the cool thing is on Tuesday, you don't have the wet bikes, you don't have the cruisers, you don't have the pontoons, you don't have the big boats out blasting you and throwing wake. It's just you and the other bass boats, which you see, but they're way on the other side of the lake. You don't see them; they're not anywhere near you. So it makes things pretty easy to fish. They have a website, Cops for Kids fundraiser bass tournament. You can Google it and it'll come right up. Me and Pat are boat number 10 out of the first wave. And I believe they're always taking on boats. I don't believe that there is a shutdown on it. They only reach so much and then they shut it down. I don't believe so. I think you can order or enter many people as you want. So,
can I sign up to be in a boat with you and Pat?
Well, you don't trust your husband? I guess not. After putting the plug in the boat. It's fun. If you can handle the ribbing, it's fun. We rib each other, and then it's just so much fun that we have. It's all tongue in cheek. It's all out of fun. I wouldn't think about fishing with pretty much anybody else. I will, but it's got to be through him. If I fish with somebody else, I'm asking him, hey, I know you're fishing with so-and-so. Is it all right if I fish with this person? And he'll 9 out of 10, he's no problem. And a matter of fact, sometimes if I can't make the tournament, I'll say, hey, put somebody else in your boat. I'm not going to be able to make this tournament. And sure enough, or sometimes if somebody needs a boat or needs a tournament to get qualified for the classic, because you can fish you have to fish 3 tournaments to qualify for our classic, and somebody's missing, I'll look at Pat, and I've already qualified. I'll look at Pat and say, hey, put this person on your boat. I'm going to sit this one out. He needs to qualify. And he's no problem, I have no problem with that. I want everybody else. I want a lot of people to be at the classic. It makes things fun. The more people you have, the better off the more camaraderie you have, especially sitting around on that Friday night and just talking hunting stories and fishing stories and outside the hotel room while you watching the sun go down on Table Rock Lake. It's just a lot of fun on that classic. I look so much forward to it. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know that people at home are definitely looking forward to kind of all the adventures that you've talked about here tonight. And so for anybody who wants to join in or watch or, comment or be a part of that, do you have social media that they can follow you on those adventures?
Yeah, I do. I have an Instagram, Chad Wakeman, for Instagram. And then I also have Chad Wakeman as far as a YouTube account. Not YouTube, I'm sorry. Facebook. There's one out there of me that I have figured out how to shut it down. I don't understand. I logged out of the profile and everything else, and I thought I shut it down, but I still get notifications for it. But it's actually the one with the profile of me with holding my fish with a St. Croix shirt on. It's blue, and that's my Facebook account, the right one, I should say. And so I'm also on Instagram. I don't really ever I post on Facebook, but it also my auto goes to Instagram as well. It's just Instagram is just so, I have to stay on it because I have an open account, or so all my pro staffing can see that. All my pro staff companies I pro staff for can see. I have to have that up, but it's just so much bogus stuff that I got to try. I go in there pretty much every day and have to clean it up, and it's just so tiring. And so if I had my way about it, it would just be my Facebook page. Then that's so much easier to do. But yeah, I do have both. And all you guys got to do, if anybody has questions or anything, or needs some kind of, I would say guidance, but questions answered about fishing and whatnot. Yeah, I love talking fishing. I could talk for hours. So I'm pretty much a wealth of knowledge. So any questions you need, I can answer them.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because we also could sit and talk fishing for hours, but at some point you got to call it quits. And so this is usually the point in the show where we do that. So, Chad, thank you so much for being here tonight because we've had a ton of fun talking with you.
Sure.
And to everybody at home, thank you guys for being here as well, because that is always a ton of fun. And with that, we're looking forward to seeing you on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.